Alrighty, welcome to the fun, boys and girls. Today, well, we're going to go ahead and try to go into some oh-so-wonderful fun Unbound Knight Arowell, Savior Adin, and Senya. Yeah, no Choux yet. So, this is a team I really wasn't expecting to see, but I pretty much just had the idea of like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to bring out Mediator Kawerik again, just for the sake of getting some, like, attack buffs going. And I'm going to try and use Arunka to see how effective she is of dealing with evasion. And she's decent at it, but whenever we get to the second fight where we use Arunka, I'll explain why she's actually not a good unit to use into evasion. So, this works out because my Ruele is a lot more tanky than my Arunka is, and because of that, she was the target of that. If that Arowell had hit my Ruele with the stun, I think I would have absolutely been ripped right here. But because she did not, I have this opportunity to bring Mediator Kawerik back, set up a barrier here real quick because Arunka is going to be hit. I failed the strip, and that is not an ER Senya, by the way, so even more reason to be pissed off by it. Thank you, 15%. You are the best. I love you forever and ever until the end of time. And from this point on, at this second, we've won. Because all we have to do is to just get to Arunka's turn and just go in on the Senya. But yeah, now that we've gotten to this point, there's really nothing that this team can do. Yeah, Senya's not doing enough damage now that we've fully recovered, we've regained our position. And hey, I'm just going to go ahead and straight up soul burn that S3. And with that, yeah, we're sitting pretty. As soon as Arunka gets her turn to either go in with an S3 or an S1 and an S1 follow-up, if she happens to get it, which it looks like she didn't. Oh boy, I love this character so much. Oh wait, no, she did get it. Okay, cool. Whatever. Goes to show like how much I remember from yesterday when doing this. But, yeah. Let me see if we actually managed to strip. Hey, we failed again. I love you, 15%. You're the best. So, there's really not much else to say about this fight. My Ruele isn't very special, which is why I used her with Mediator Kawerik. The Mediator Kawerik was able to get a good cleanse, and along with that cleanse, just immunity. Immunity is an incredibly invaluable thing to have. And we usually kind of take it for granted whenever we need to generate immunity, because immunity set is just so fucking trash. In all honesty, I would love for them to buff immunity set, but I really have absolutely no idea how SG could possibly do it. I have one idea, and that's like immunity refreshes each turn or something, but even that sounds kind of ridiculous. But anyway, on to the next fight. So, this next fight, we're fighting Conqueror Lilias, along with Choux and that's not Apocalypse Ravi. That is regular Ravi. That is Red Ravi. You don't see Red Ravi very often. But there is one pretty particular thing about Red Ravi that you do have to take account of, and that's because of how her passive works. If you leave her alone and you do not have a means of dealing with Red Ravi in terms of the stuns that she will provide, she will absolutely stun lock your team. Unless you're, of course, rocking a lot of ER. But the way in which Ravi's, like, just passive works, she gains so much just regular effectiveness that if they build even a little bit into effectiveness, they will stun lock your team, which is absolutely crazy. But, like, yeah, you really almost never see Red Ravi all that often. But that's why Ray is here. Ray is a really, really awesome unit. Especially because whenever Ray first came out, like forever and ever ago, I remember when Ray first hit the scene, I think a lot of my friends just looked at him and was like, oh wow, look, it's Destina, it's just better in every way. And then, like, Destina got her buffs, which a lot of us initially perceived as, like, a nerf. But Destina is actually, like, mad meta. Sure, her healing is nowhere near as, like, crazy as it used to be in terms of, like, actual bulk healing. But, like, the CR manip that Destina does, the fact that she can cleanse, and that she also has a revive, like, yo, that's just absolutely cracked. You just have to build the unit accordingly. So, what we did was we decided to use Dark Corvus to go into Ravi, because even though it's not a super threat, because I do have a little bit of ER on Ray, I don't want to take that chance. You never know, like, with some of these units. Some people straight up could be just rocking, like, effectiveness monsters, and then they're just using one unit to do all the damage, that being Choux. But, of course, like, these are all just guesses. You never know what you're dealing with. So, what I did was I used Ray, got the immunity up, and hey, we're good to go. So all I have to do now is just get to Ray's turn one more time, set up a immunity or a cleanse, whatever is required because of how the oh-so-wonderful CR bar happens to work. And whenever Dark Corvus gets his turn, I will delete Choux, and we will move on to the next fight. So right here, Choux, you are marked for death. It's coming. And right now, she's just doing her death throes, trying to do as much damage as humanly possible. Hey, I understand. I get it, Choux. But you know what? You need to go away now. And this is pretty much a key reason as to why Dark Corvus has, and will probably be meta forever in Guild Wars. Just the sheer wall break power that this unit has is insane. It just takes a while. That's the only real downside to Dark Corvus. He takes a while. So, now we're fighting Angel of Light Angelica, the oh-so-wonderful Cancer herself, Savior Adin, and Rimuru. Boy, I love all three of these units. So, what I decided to do is, right here, I'm going to use Troublemaker Crozet and Momo for the sole purpose, pretty much, of just tanking Rimuru. And I was hoping, with as much ER as my Momo has, I'll be able to handle whatever Savior Adin is, or not Savior Adin, AOL is going to be dishing out. And thankfully, that is pretty much the case. And because I have like a decent amount of HP on Troublemaker Crozet, I can still get some decent heals off onto him. So, where the kind of issue really pops up is, you know what really kind of sucks about this team? I probably could have utilized just like... I could have probably done some Mediator Kawerik stuff, but I looked at this and I just had no clue what the speeds were going to be. So this just seemed like one of the most safe options for me to pick. And another thing I kind of hate about Arunka is that was a squishy Rimuru. They're almost never squishy. I really wish instead of barrier shenanigans that Arunka did, she was just like another functional Euphine. Because you remember how Euphine used to be, where if the enemy had a buff, then you use S3 into the opponent with said buff, they would take absurd damage. Now it's like the other way around, where she's kind of like Specimen says, where there is a specific debuff that needs to be on the opponent. Whenever you meet those particular criteria, in this case it's silence, then you just do absolute meme damage. And Arunka doesn't really need meme damage. It's just like, yo, I'd like a little bit of a boost, please. Because what she does to barrier units, she does like, what, 16k? Something like that? If they're fairly squishy and they have a barrier, which is pretty nice. I just think it'd be really great if you could do that with a buffed unit instead of a barriered unit. I think it'd be an amazing buff to her. It'd help her immensely. Now, remember when I was talking earlier about Arunka having like issues with like evasion units? So it's going to pop up right here. So further exemplifying why I can't fucking read, her S1, even with a soul burn, does not proc the follow-up attack because that was not a successful attack. So, once again, please, SG, can we just like give Arunka a buff so she just does her follow-up attack for a different criteria instead of this stupid 50% bullshit? It's really dumb. Like, seriously, Arunka does not need much. I understand why you guys are scared to buff her. It's just you don't want another Huayang situation. But the thing with the Huayang situation was Huayang was just busted as fuck out the box. Like, it really felt like there was no actual, like, testing for Huayang. Like, this bitch was able to do 9 to 10k without Ubris's Tooth, by the way, to any unit, period. That was the minimum damage that she could deal with her S3. Like, that was key and like one of the keyest points for why like she was able to annihilate evasion units, along with like every other unit because of all the other bullshit that Huayang could do. But hey, we're not here to really talk about Huayang. Now we're here to talk about this team right here. So this is a Conqueror, Lilias, Senya, and Mercedes team. I've fought one of these before. Honestly, the only real threat is pretty much that Mercedes, and that is a very, very strong Mercedes. And all I have to do, in all honesty, is just kill the Mercedes, and the fight is already over. Case in point, by the time we get the first kill done on the Mercedes, like, I think she's already done her S3, and she's also not proccing magic for friends at all. I think it happens, like, right before we kill her. And, hey, the fight's over. Because what we did here was for the Christy, Roana, and Shadow Knight Pyllis comp that I usually like to use for any and all, like, debuff-related shenanigans, especially these particular teams right here. And, you know what? Just going to say it right now. PSA, hey guys, stop using Senya, stop using Conqueror Lilias, stop using Choux, stop using a DPS with those, like, particular, like, comps together. They're not a threat. Like, this is a prime example of why they're not a threat. Sure, it's not ending in, like, 15 turns or whatever, and the entire community has ADD. I get it. But, like, this is not a threat. Once, like, I've been doing this for quite a few Guild Wars now, where I just straight up stop playing, and I just start autoing the fight. Case in point, right here. Like, I have nothing else that I can really even talk about or do. The Senya cannot debuff me. The way in which my team is set up, Christy's giving all of her extra ER over to Roana. Roana has probably, what, 170-something ER with all that stuff all together? Yeah. Unless you're rocking an effectiveness Senya, you're really not going to touch her. Pyllis is pretty much the same way. She already has like 150 base, and then there's all those rune shenanigans, which I don't know them off the top of my head, how much extra ER she gets. But like, hey, Pyllis has a lot of ER. Christy has like over 200. You're not touching me. Just straight up. And because of the way this is all set up, I have nothing to worry about, and I can just auto the fight. Like, that's pretty much it. So, I guess this is also just another, like, advertisement for Shadow Knight Pyllis. If you guys have her, if you have any way to get her, please do it. She is a, well, she's not free. She's a 3-star Moonlight unit. You should have them. If you happen to do any Moonlight summoning at all, you probably have a Pyllis. And if you do have a Pyllis, I recommend doing the spec change. The spec change is reportedly, I think, one of the easiest in the game. I can't really recall, but I hear a lot of people saying that she is, like in the review comments for the character. Easily one of the best, like, investment units you could ever have. And the Roana, I've said this before, I will say it again, she is rocking nothing but free gear. It's just straight up, it's like level 75 or level 78 free gear. It's the HP, like, renewal set that I got for just playing the game. 100% recommend it. It probably rolled really well, but, like, hey, all you just need is some HP. You don't really need crazy stuff. But if you really wanted to go crazy with it, you could make Roana much, much, much better. You could straight up put her on a counter set. If you had a lot of HP to go with it, a little bit of ER to go with that as well, throw on Celestine, bam, you got lots of healing. And then Christy, all you honestly need is just ER. I like to build mine with a little bit of bulk because I'm using her with Aureus. The Aureus is there to help Shadow Knight tank any and all attacks that are usually coming in from a Choux. It's wonderful. This is a really, really great, like, anti-blue, anti-Lua, and anti-Choux kind of team. I love it a lot. I can't recommend it enough. And with that, hopefully we're finally going to be done here. I'm really running out of a lot of things to talk about. But, yeah. With that being said, there was a little bit of editing there. I skipped forward just a little bit to have the song sync up. And on to the next match. Grab yourself a drink. Okay, so the general strategy here was Zio is going to go into Ed. Ed's the highest on the CR bar. So he hits Ed, and then I go ahead and get this CC off. Now, this was my own inexperience coming in. If I did not land that provoke onto Kawerik, I very well would have probably lost, because the Kawerik was going to go into Edward as well, and he would also probably hit him because Edward has no effectiveness. Oh, I mean, no effect resist. And if that had happened, I probably would have been in really, really deep shit. So, because that doesn't happen, and then I also made another mistake here. I actually thought that Aria had a higher proc rate of landing debuffs. I did not know it was only 50%. And if I had known that, I probably would have gone into this with, like, Doris to go with Unbound Knight Arowell. Because, yeah, right now I'm rocking no defense buff, and I'm also rocking, like, less healing in general with Momo there. So, like, Momo is kind of a dead pick here. Kind of sucks to say that, because I'm not really dealing with debuffs. If I had brought Doris, it probably would have been a lot better. We would have had def buff for a large portion of the fight. And another very big mistake that I possibly made, I don't know, hindsight's 2020, but I could have used Arowell's S3 on Zeo the first chance I got. I chose not to do that because I thought I might need more shielding, and the off chance that I was able to strip the Aria, that does not happen. And honestly, anytime you're playing those odds against fighting Aria for stripping, unless your character is straight up built to strip, like you have a lot of effectiveness and you're very confident in it, you really should almost never try that. Because any well-built Aria worth their salt are probably going to be in the 100 to 150 like effect resist range, and they're probably rocking Bastion as well, and they're probably also on a lifesteal set. And with all those things together, if you don't have a specific answer to that, she will start to farm your team. And okay, so then we finally end out the match with a oh so wonderful Senya Choux team. So here is where, like, you get asked a question. So if you have to fight a Senya Choux fight, but you, for whatever reason, can't hit Choux. So, like, let's say we get a unit in the future or whatever that, like, stealths the back row. I don't know, fucking some shit like that. Something like that. Whatever. So what would you do? Well, in this case, you would just go for the unit that is protecting the Choux, right? And that's essentially what I do. I just use the same team that I've been using for the Lua Senya Choux comps, or just Senya Choux comps in general, and just go for the one that's protecting the Choux, and then go for the Choux, and then bam, the fight's over. So that's like the weakness I see of this team. Yeah, I've seen Troublemaker Crozet teams in the past that were like pretty cancerous, but like this in particular, like Senya and Choux together just straight up doesn't scare me. It just doesn't. Not anymore. Like, after I swapped to Shadow Knight Pyllis, Christy, and Roana, I have quite literally nothing to fear. Like, the Senya isn't going to be an issue. She's not going to land debuffs. Even if you land debuffs on Roana, I just don't care. I'm going to hit you. You're going to hit me. Then, bam, I'm going to get more healing. Like, that's all it is. So, it's a very, very simple fight, and there's a reason why I auto these. It's just, there's no reason to even take an action. All I have to do is just kill the front line, in this case, Troublemaker Crozet. As soon as he's down, then I can start working on Choux, and as soon as Choux's down, then I can start working on Senya. It's just a order of operations in terms of, like, threat. Or if we happen to get units that protect better than Troublemaker Crozet does in the future, something like that. So, like, let's just say we get a unit in the future that's, like, got perma-stealth or whatever. I don't know. Like, you never know what SG's going to do. What kind of just incredible dumb shit unit they're going to make. So let's say we get a unit that's got perma-stealth, you can't hit it, and then it protects another unit in the back, and it's got perma-stealth or whatever. So then you have one unit that you can hit. So, in this case, I guess I would just hit the Senya. The Senya would die, and then I can hit whoever the fuck I want, because the way perma-stealth works is if everyone's stealthed, no one's stealthed. Which is why anytime you see like any of the Spec 10 comps and they happen to run like extra stealth users with them, if you have a means of dealing with the other unit that's not stealth very, very quickly, well, guess what? Your Spec 10 is completely open and ready to die. But I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas for like what could possibly be coming. And another big thing as well, and I'm sure like a lot of people have probably already noticed, ML Bologna would absolutely farm the entirety of all of these fights. And hey, you're 100% right. I just haven't gotten around to building her yet. It's, Which is really funny, because ML Bologna is really not very hard to build. All you have to do is just build bulk and have a bunch of crit damage. That's it. Like, that's quite literally it. Bulk, crit damage, and if you have the means of doing it, lifesteal or counter set. So yeah, she's basically a super Banshee unit. Just go run Banshee until you eventually get what you need. And I just straight up don't have the gear. I have stuff that can function. I recently worked with it today. I'm not impressed by it. I decided to try out Injury Set. I'm gonna see if it works. I'll try and see if I can use it tomorrow or for the next Guild War or whatever, whenever the hell the next one is. I'll give it a shot. I'll see if it's worth it. I'm sure. I think a lot of people have been having success with a lot of the different builds that Bologna has. It's just the big thing that really is kind of hurting her is like how fragile she seems to be, because the meta of if you are a safe unit that like tanks hits, it's usually a matter of, do you have damage mitigation? Do you have some means of canceling the effect? Can you get the aggro off of you? Just things like that. And ML Bologna really doesn't have that. ML Bologna just is straight up a unit that does damage. So that's why I was thinking maybe Proof of Valor would work, but even still, I don't think that's enough protection. Because all Proof of Valor really does is it just kind of like protects from one-shots, and that's about it. But it's not really good of like dealing with constant damage. So I don't know, maybe dealing like with some type of Aureus unit, maybe with Unbound Knight Arowell, something like that, using her with it. I think that would probably be pretty good. But I don't know, we'll try it some other time. And with that said, folks, that's the Guild War. Yay! So yeah, here's everybody. And the one thing I was thinking about doing, probably sometime in the future, I would really, really like to re-gear my Kawerik, or my my hand guy, Mediator Kawerik. I just feel like I don't use him for like opening buffs anymore. I should probably make him a little slower, put some more effectiveness on him, and maybe like just bulk him up some more. That's what I'm thinking about. Because like I don't really use him for like that turn 1 buffs thing anymore. I mainly just I use Senya for that. And Arunka, oh man, Arunka pisses me off. I really, really, really want her to get buffs. I would love for Arunka to be like an anti-evasion unit, because like, hey, let's think about it here real quick. What is evasion's like biggest weakness? It's not just that like units that have a hit mechanic to them. It's any units that have lots and lots of attack, because then you just deal with the attack the attack modifier that deals the damage. You don't have to deal with crit, you don't have to deal with crit damage, all that crap. So any unit that just does a lot of attack damage should immediately become a threat to an evasion unit. And because of her kit, where it just straight up doesn't function if the attack doesn't hit, is just the dumbest shit ever. The S1 should just work. If there should just be another like tell for that. I hate the fact that it's just, hey, flip a coin or use a soul burn, and even if you soul burn, if it misses, it just straight up doesn't work. Like, it's so dumb. But anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you like any of my other content, please subscribe. I hope to see you guys sometime in the future. Have a good one. Later.